Planned Brotherhood is not affiliated or associated with Planned Parenthood. Planned Parenthood is a registered trademark of Planned Parenthood, Federation of America, Incorporated.
Hi everybody, thanks for listening to episode 97 of Planned Brotherhood. In case there are any new listeners, I wanted to provide a little glossary of names, otherwise you're going to be really confused. Basically, dad is dad, mom is mom, Melissa is our little sister, and anytime you hear the name Neckfurters or a crazy sound effect, that's our stepmom. Also, we have brief audio issues at about the hour and 10 mark, but it's worth powering through and it's fixed in no time. So we apologize for that. Things come up from time to time. So sue us. But don't sue us. I wasn't one to cheat in school really that much from what I remember. In fact, I think people cheated off of me.
Yeah.
Even though the somewhat recent episode where we read from my report card, apparently it wasn't that wise of them to be copying off of me.
I remember people would ask me for questions answers to math questions and stuff like that. And instead of giving it to them, I would be walk them through how to solve the problem. And they get so I remember this really hot girl, Natalie Johnson, was she asked me for the answer to one, and I was like, well, you have to divide this by this and then whatever. And I'm like, God, faggot. Looking back now, no wonder she gave me that look.
Yeah, at least if you were hunky, then she'd want you as a tutor.
She used to wear mesh shirts with just a bra underneath to school.
What grade are we talking here?
This is when I got kicked out of highly capable class and sent down to the dumb class.
Still haven't given a grade, but that's great.
I believe that was 6th grade.
All right.
Because Mr. Hall, who was a very handsy teacher.
So what kind of mom lets her 6th grader go to school that way? Or does she change when she gets to school?
It was Tacoma, and it was a bad part of Tacoma. I'm sure the mom wasn't paying attention or didn't care. Is this slander?
Do you own a suit? Wow, I wasn't expecting a segue to come from that, but...
It was so natural, though. It was not to be ignored.
All right, so I guess this is an introduction explaining that we started a story that I feel most of our listeners will be into.
Mm-hmm. This is a couple weeks ago in Portland.
Yeah, it's our last entry from the Portland trip, but there's a lot more to say about it because we were getting
a trilogy, right?
Yeah, basically, possibly a quadrilogy. I don't want to spoil anything. We were obviously just getting started. I'm also going to warn people that why warn people it's a long one when they can fucking see that on their iPod? Can we start this whole thing over again?
Here's a dumb question. What do they call it when there's 4 movies? They don't call it a quadrilogy.
Sure they do.
No, they don't.
Yeah. Look at the Alien box set. Quadrilogy right on the side.
Well, okay, that's something they made up then, and it's stupid.
I challenge you.
It's a series.
Our listeners challenge you.
It's a foursome at the very least.
Quadrilogy. I guarantee it's in Webster's.
Makes no sense.
I'll bet of all your pretentious books up there, you don't have a fucking dictionary, do you?
Yes,
and if it is, it's in English to Spanish.
I got it for Christmas. It's a big Merriam-Webster's.
Is it worth looking up?
Quadrilogy?
Fuck it indeed. Why don't I talk to myself for a little while? I can't do it.
So we're recording in Portland and
not right now, we were.
Right. And you'll hear for yourselves what it was about.
But we've got nothing? Seriously, we're 2 minutes away from it, guys. And then we'll come back and we'll
finish the story. We had to leave the hotel.
Right.
Spoiler alert.
That is the lamest spoiler ever. You know where the cues are. There's only so many. Should we put money on this first?
If you want to, because I am not seeing it.
And you have a gambling problem.
How would you spell it?
Quadrilogy.
Not there, buddy.
Look up Alien Quadrilogy. All right, so we didn't officially bet. There was no handshakes. So you just want to... Oh, we should explain also, because of recent events that we'll get into after this...
A lot has happened.
Yes, okay. And we're it's all going to be contained within this one episode. But we should say this segment that we're going into, which is only about 20 minutes long or so, we set a name that we're going to colorfully delete. Not because we fucking have to. Not to give anything away. But just because we thought of something funny to do with it. So enjoy that as well.
There's an opportunity for humor. It's like, fuck you, we won't use your name. Take this.
Enjoy this and then come back to us.
Brotherhood! This letter is dated March 5th, 2010. with surprisingly okay handwriting and not the worst spelling that you might imagine from a crazy person. So, letter from Mom. And this is true blue, postmarked, you can see there. Return address is
Western State Hospital.
Yep. With her name written and a stamp for Western State
That's
Hospital.
right.
Mental institution.
And this is to not just you, PJ, Alvina, and Sophie.
Yeah. Dear PJ, Alvina, and Sophia, I'm probably the last person in the world that you want to hear from.
Accurate.
This is months after I haven't talked to Mom, by the way.
Right.
But somehow I feel compelled to write to you. I was going to write Nick too, but have no address for him.
And that's not a phone call away.
Yeah. As you have probably heard, I'm locked up in Western State Hospital. It started with the foreclosure of our house and spiraled down from there. I have literally been in hell ever since. Not literally. First right in the middle of moving, I had a seizure,
Okay.
and was rushed to the first of many trips to the hospital, which is just putting them in debt, with panic attacks
Yeah, no kidding.
and suicide attempts. I never knew that killing yourself could be so hard.
You still don't know.
Yeah, it's not hard. I know how you guys feel about mental illness and must be very ashamed of me.
Now, we've already mentioned that's the part that originally stood out to you the most. Like, what the fuck is that supposed to
Yeah,
be?
what does that even mean?
Yeah,
like,
us at our,
obviously we know
Nash-
you're crazy and you probably passed it on to us.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah, we'll find out 20 years from now.
Yeah. Believe me, it is the most terrifying thing that could happen to a person. I hope it doesn't happen to you. I live in constant terror. It's like a prison here. I fear mostly for Melissa. Bullshit. I'm riddled with guilt that I can't care for her. But she's never cared for her.
No.
She doesn't take her to
She's
the
given her a place to
dentist.
live, but it's a disgusting
She
place.
doesn't wash her hair.
No.
Vincent does what he can with having to work. If you guys could check every now and again on her, I would be grateful. She's very resilient and rarely cries, but she has got to be scared and hurting.
It is true that she rarely cries.
Yeah.
I only saw it most recently. Spoiler.
It is like prison here. They won't let me out until I prove that I'm not a danger to myself or others. I'm working hard to get out, taking my medication and taking treatment classes. Your Aunt Annie...
Is that written in pencil or pen?
Pencil.
Okay.
A dull pencil, obviously. Your Aunt Annie recently died. I want to survive and not have my mother lose 3 daughters. And I don't want to lose you guys. You've lost us. I know that alcohol contributed to this, and I solemnly swear if I survive this, alcohol will never pass my lips again. I will understand if you choose not to forgive me, but I wanted to let you know how I feel. Kiss Sophie for me. I miss her so much. Her beautiful little face. Please send a picture. Love, Mom, Jackie, and Grandma. So apparently, multiple personalities. 3 people wrote this letter.
Yeah, and to you, she's Mom. To Sophie, she's Grandma. And to your wife, she's just Jackie.
Jackie. Giacomo.
Yeah, so I guess at that point, she was obviously in the hospital. You read the date, but...
Yeah, she's been in and out.
Right. And then she was out again at a certain point. That's what we'd heard, because Melissa would still text me occasionally. Oh, good news, Mom's back. And I'm like, really? Good news?
Yeah, awesome.
And then there was a point where, what was it? Like spring break for Melissa. Whenever there's a spring break, she gets a chance to escape and hang out for a week or two, generally with our Aunt Lori over here in Yakima, which she fucking loves.
Yeah.
And is good for her. We've talked about before the great improvements we see in her just in that amount of time, because she's not being raised by a couple of yokels for that 2 weeks or whatever.
Yeah.
But I guess Lori, and I'm going to go ahead and read these emails without permission, I guess.
Are you going to read the one that Lori wrote back?
Here's where we're going to start with this one. This is Melissa's situation. This is information that Lori gathered in that time that Melissa was there for spring break. And this is an email that she wrote to Dad because she's concerned, but of course she CC'd
Well,
us.
I didn't know you had that email.
Oh, here we go. Update on Melissa's situation. I regrettably have to take Melissa back to Tacoma tomorrow. I have had some amazing and informative meetings with some specialists here at my school, one of which sat in on part of an informal discussion I was having with Melissa. When I asked her how she felt about going home, her response, not safe. When asked why, her response, "My mom curses me." I asked if that meant swearing. She said no, it meant that she makes a scary claw with her hand, and she simulates a hissing noise. Says her mom says, "I am going to curse you." Melissa says this started after Jackie came home from Western State. When asked what provokes this, Melissa says that she is in her room, minding her own business when her mom comes in. Jackie will also come into Melissa's room a lot and pee on the floor thinking that she is in the bathroom. She will start yelling at Melissa to stop sleeping in the bathtub when she is really in her bedroom.
Which is probably already urine soaked. And
yeah,
anyway.
No kidding. In Melissa's own words, Vincent is taking his anger out on me when he is having a bad day. When asked how she said that, she said that he spanks her. I asked her to show me how he spanks her. She made a fist and simulated punching me in the stomach. She said that she also hits her with a stinger thing in the stomach. When asked what good things Vincent does for her, she said cooking and laundry. Well, that's sweet. Food includes pork chops, hamburger helper, tuna helper, lasagna, and Diet Pepsi. When asked if there were fruits or vegetables, she said only corn. Melissa says she only feels safe when she is in her room, in bed. When asked if she could live anywhere, she could. Her reply, somewhere safe. I asked her to tell me what safe means to her, and she said close to family, nice people, and being at school with teachers. I am taking Melissa back tomorrow. We are leaving Yakima about 3:30 p.m. I contacted Vincent to confirm that he will be there when I arrive. I plan on having a serious discussion with him, letting him know that I will be contacting CPS to help assist Melissa. So she's following through on the threat I once upon a time made.
Yeah, to Dad as well.
And it's not a threat, but that's how he's seeing it. I am not throwing around accusations or blame on anyone, but the CPS is a positive organization that will start the process of looking after Melissa's best interests. So I want everyone that loves Melissa to be a part of this and know what is happening in her life. So that was the email she sent to Dad. I don't know. I don't have the response, but we can gather from the next one what pretty much happened. See, Dad wrote something in the interim, obviously, because Lori wrote, "Scott, I want no ill feelings or discontent between us. My motive for taking Melissa for the week and contacting CPS is not to place blame, make accusations, or get anyone in trouble. There is so much out there for Melissa, so many resources that haven't been taken advantage of. If we hook her, Vincent, and Jackie up with all the right people, it will start to alleviate stress and worry for everyone involved in her care. Jackie is completely incapable of anything right now, and Vincent can't do much beyond the 40-hour work week. Aside from the occasional stinger punch."
And Dad just doesn't care.
No, he doesn't.
He just wants it all to be left alone.
Yep, he thinks she's fine with her situation.
Why don't you mind your own business and let my daughter be miserable?
So I thought if a caseworker took over with a plan, it would be a great start. Please understand. Now here is where it gets fucking good. Because Dad at this point, like he said, checked out, but obviously gave his bitch of a wife enough of an idea of what was going on. Because we get the pleasure of reading email back to Lori's last email to Dad. Lori, I have...
Now, this is who won't let Melissa in her house, hasn't since she was 5 years old.
Right.
Barely let us in her house after I had a kid. This is a bitch woman that doesn't want Dad to have anything to do with any of his family.
Lori, I have serious concerns about you sending such highly personal emails to Scott at his work email. Maybe it's okay for you, but in all of my personal experience, it is completely unacceptable for you to be doing that. Scott has had court visitations with Melissa for over 10 years. She has never once expressed...
2 hours every other week, which he often skips.
She has never once expressed concern to him about her home conditions, and believe me, he has asked her and been concerned about it for all of that time.
Bullshit.
No, now that CPS was being bandied about, like when I sent it to him, I'm sure that he would occasionally be like, "Hey, you're okay, okay." Right?
And I think that's what this letter is she's like, let me make up a bunch of shit and send it to Lori, so that when CPS does contact us, I can say that all this stuff is true.
Right. Because of the fact that you mentioned that your intention was not to put blame on anyone, I want to express my strong disagreement on that. Jackie's sons have completely disowned their own mother. This is the woman that invented holding a grudge against her own kids.
Yeah, so this is where so she says, Lori, you don't want to place blame on anybody, but I do want to. And the blame for Melissa's mental retardation and the fact that Mom keeps a disgusting home lies on us.
That's right. We should have been there for her. This is in no way acceptable to me for any reason, says she. She needs the complete support of all her children right now to get her through this crisis. I know. I have been down that path myself, so I feel very qualified to speak about this. Without going into personal details, I have experience with my children turning their backs on me when in a time of crisis.
Okay.
My brother... Wait. My brother jumped to his death from a cliff in Hawaii a few months ago, leaving me and his own children devastated, and I had no support from my own children. I love that she starts it by saying, without going into personal details, and then talks about how her brother beefed it off a bridge or whatever.
And just because your kids hate you, that makes you the last person qualified as to, mother-son relationships.
Right. I have to wonder why you are so concerned with Melissa's care all of a sudden. Scott has spent more time with her than you or her brothers in the last 10 years.
Bullshit.
He is way more involved in her routine than you or her brothers. I do question the specialist you had sit in your questioning of Melissa last week. I am completely unaware of any job title of specialist and have serious concern about the qualification of what this means. I have a degree in social work with an internship with neglected and abused kids. Way to use that to your advantage.
Yeah, and way to have that degree and completely neglect and abuse Melissa, too.
Yeah. Not sure if you were authorized to have anyone sit in on questioning without the permission of the custodial parent anyway. I am also concerned about what you said to Melissa's mother about how a CPS worker would help them. I really doubt that they understood any of what you said. Today, Scott took Melissa for a short bob haircut and bought her an alarm clock. She loves her new haircut. He did this because you were so concerned about her matted hair. Let's not forget the fact, though, that this is how her appearance has been for the last at least 10 years. Yeah, because you guys aren't stepping up.
Yeah, why is that okay?
One haircut in 10 years and Dad's
None
dad
of this
the year.
makes sense. The fact that she's had lice for 10 years makes it okay.
Yeah. And her teeth have been rotted since she was 6 years old.
Again.
I know. I took her to the dentist. One time when she was 6, I'm sure.
And why didn't you follow up on that?
But her mother
Lori's following up on that.
No, this is why. Her mother had custody and let her drink Coke. Therefore, we could do nothing about that.
Mm-hmm.
Lori, if you are wanting to point fingers at anybody, I request you ask Jackie's sons why they have turned against their own mother at this time when she needs all the support she can get. I will never believe that their behavior towards their mother has not contributed to all of her depression. In fact, I am sure of it. Please help me understand why they have done this. Why don't you ask me, you fucking bitch?
Yeah, really. And hey, by the way, just way to make sure that your husband never gets to see his granddaughter again.
That was you.
Just, he can thank you for that.
The disturbing emails that you and Nick, I assume with your encouragement, have made us contact a lawyer. Nick's emails have bordered upon harassment. Now, everybody go back and listen. I don't know what episode it's in, but fuck this shit. Our lawyer was shocked by Nick's threats and is in complete agreement that what Nick demanded was against the law, which was step up, be a dad. Against the law, according to... After hours of communication with our lawyer, he does not think that it would be wise to uproot Melissa at this very vulnerable time in her life. So this is his bitch way of please don't call CPS. Don't ruin our life.
Possibly think just say, okay, so let's do something with Melissa, but I hate you. Not keep trying to justify that Melissa's in a good spot. She's not.
No, I know. And the
fucking
fact
whore. I'm serious, man. And to keep throwing our names in it.
Yeah. Through the mud, I'd say.
We have anything to do with Melissa's living conditions.
And please consider the comments that you quoted from Janine seriously. I don't know what this means. Unless she has a doctor's degree, she is in no way qualified to speak about the drugs that are prescribed to patients based on their diagnosis. FYI, I have never heard of the lithium shuffle.
Yeah.
I don't know how that plays a part. Please explain that to me. If you would like to discuss this more, my home email would be most appropriate. And we have her email address. We'll put it as an Easter egg somewhere within the episode.
Okay.
We're getting kicked out of our hotel, so we got to read this last one really quick. But Lori wrote her back, and it's the best email I've ever laid eyes on.
Yeah. Lori wrote her back from a very unemotional spot.
I'm going to get emotional reading it, though.
Takes point by point to beat the fuck down. And I don't understand why Dad says, okay, go ahead and write this. Go ahead and throw my son's name into it, too. Just go ahead and screw me over with my entire family.
Right. He still sends you his redneck forward emails, though.
She wants to make sure that she is the
Dad
only...
does not know... I'm sorry.
That she is the only miserable face that he can look at.
Yeah. And fuck occasionally, I'm sure.
Yeah. Face fuck.
That's what I was going for. Okay, so this is Lori back to her. Let's address these concerns that you manifest one by one. I love that she breaks it down. For our listeners, I email Scott at work because he has provided me no alternative form of communication. I would happy to use an alternate email address. My school administration, school psychologist, and transition specialist are, there it is, it's a transition specialist, it does exist, I'm going to assume, are all aware of my relationship and concerns regarding Melissa. Being a mandated reporter in the state of Washington, my use of email is not in question. If you feel otherwise, please contact my principal. I cannot speak to what Melissa may or may not have talked to with her father about these last 10 years. This last visit, however, when she was confiding in me regarding her mother urinating in her bedroom and Vincent spanking her in the stomach, she did tell me that this was something that she did share with her father, and in her words, his response was, I am trying to talk my siblings about who can take care of you. Trying to talk to my siblings. You should have read the emails today. It sounds like you disagree with my intentions of not placing blame with anyone. I stand by those intentions. They are mine. I cannot speak to the relationship that Nick and PJ have with Jackie or Scott. That is not my arena. The fact is, regardless of reasons or excuses, that Melissa needs attention. That is my intention. My sympathy for the loss of your brother, I cannot imagine the pain. Regarding my sudden concern for Melissa, Melissa has been an active part of my life for many, many years. I have video of her as a little tiny girl on our summer vacations riding in our boat. I have the very first video of her just days old, lying on the living room floor, cooing. She sets the scene, doesn't she? Sudden, hardly. I have had Melissa over for parts of every summer and major holiday for many years. Very true. Just this last week alone, April 2nd through April 8th, it totaled 144 hours. Not to mention the entire month of July 2009 and 5 days at Christmas this last year. All that within one calendar year. Comparing that to Scott's 4 hours twice a month, 12 months a year, 96 hours a year total, the math alone supports my interest and concern in Melissa. I would like to know how this compares to the hours she has spent in your home. The fucking mathematical breakdown. That's my favorite part.
And you can just picture, oh, that makes no sense.
I don't know math, but
I don't acknowledge math.
Math's never done anything for me.
Math can jump off a cliff in Hawaii for all I care.
Next in line, I had talks with my transition specialist and school psychologist regarding Melissa's situation. Let the record show that I took her to work with me every day. I had permission from Jackie, Vincent, and Scott to access anything academic regarding Melissa, formal evaluations, etc. You can contact her assistant principal, we won't say the name, for confirmation if you would like. Your degree is irrelevant to me.
I love that. That's in a paragraph all to its own. Your degree, irrelevant.
CPS will help. Vincent has the mental capacity to understand that. Jackie might. Again, irrelevant. Glad she got a haircut. You said matted is how it has been for 10 years? Is that not concerning? Does that not show a pattern of neglect? I was unaware that you ever saw Melissa to know the condition of her hair or teeth. Teeth rotting since 6. Is that not a concern? Does that not show a pattern of neglect? You take her to the dentist on a regular basis? Again, unaware of your involvement with Melissa. I was told that she was not allowed in your home. Yes, we agree. Her mother allows her to drink way too much soda. When we have Melissa, we work on healthy choices and good self-management strategies. Next bullet. I did not want to point fingers at anyone. I cannot speak to the relationship or feeling the boys have with Jackie. That is something you will have to address with them. I'm waiting. I do not doubt that the relationship has contributed to her depression. She threw us under the bus. I'm not reading this anymore.
She's not saying that's why Melissa's dirty.
That's true. Next, the disturbing email from Nick. I was a recipient of the email, not a composer. I had nothing to do with this email. I was first aware of it at reading it, not before. I think you underestimate...
This is my favorite part.
I think you underestimate their intelligence and independent thinking ability.
Can you see why that's my favorite part?
Yes. They came to their own conclusions about how they feel about their parents, as they do with all of the people in their lives. Next, Janine's comment was lithium shuffle. Was certainly not authoritative, but rather observational. She also has a degree in social work, and in pursuing that degree, she did her internship in a mental health facility in Seattle. Lithium shuffle was a term used on a regular basis there, be it correct medical terminology or not. All one has to do is access the internet to get informed of the effects of antipsychotic drugs. I have had numerous email correspondence with Scott regarding Melissa over the course of many months. I have copies of all emails. If you would like them, I certainly would be glad to forward them to you so you can get a full picture of all that is being addressed.
Which will be great emails of Dad bitching to Lori.
I saw.
Really?
Yeah. After reading your email and addressing all that you brought up, I am still unclear about your objective. Let me be perfectly clear regarding our objective. Melissa, her care, her future, her potential, her safety, and her happiness. I do not have an alternative email for Scott and consider that this concerns him greatly. I will be forwarding it to the only address I have. Janine and I have promised ourselves and those involved in this situation to be very transparent at all times. In light of that, I will also be forwarding this response to the boys as it concerns them as well. All I really want is...
And forwarding that to the podcast.
Right.
To the podcast.
All I really want is for all of us adults to focus on the issue at hand, Melissa. The animosity, the history, and the ill will needs to be tabled for now. This is what I really want. I would like to hear from Scott.
Yeah.
Nice
then,
job. Nice work.
Yes. And like you said, we're getting kicked out of the hotel, but we can say it. There was a hearing that you attended.
We gotta, yeah. Do we want to get into that or save it now?
Save it? Okay. Yeah, because we gotta
This is a nice teaser.
Yeah, we gotta devote time.
But there's a lot more to it.
I do want to update on Melissa's dental condition to where it gets on her high horse about I took her to the dentist when she was 6 years old, and basically her teeth is nobody's problem but her own. Melissa went to the dentist.
Because she is in foster care. We haven't even stressed that yet.
She has 30 cavities, one tooth rotted completely down to the bone, and one that the dentist said is so poisonous and infected, he literally does not understand why she isn't screaming in pain constantly.
It's amazing.
I remember Melissa being, 4 or 5 years old when mom and dad still lived together, and her teeth were so rotten, and she was drinking coffee with tons of sugar in it at 3, 4 years old, and I remember her being up at night, like crying and holding her mouth with toothaches and sympathizing for her because toothaches are the fucking worst, man. It's always been that way. They just did not give a fuck about, we had full dental care, and look at our teeth. We never got braces or
even checkups.
Yeah.
After 11, I feel like that stuff.
I've never had a cavity filled. I've never had a cavity filled in my life. When a tooth gets bad enough, I go to the dentist, I get it pulled. That's it. That's absolutely it.
That's what we were taught. That's how we were raised.
And I realize that I can change it now, but I'm talking about I've never had a cavity filled even when I was a teenager and I had, horrible, horrible toothaches. I would still go back then. I remember getting a partial root canal once, and then we couldn't pay for it, so I just had to leave it partial. And then eating gummy worms while saying American Pie, it completely broke, and I had to go get it pulled.
wait. Eating gummy worms while singing American Pie?
We were singing American Pie.
Oh, seeing American Pie.
Yeah.
I imagined you...
singing American Pie. It's a good YouTube video, eating gummy worms, singing American Pie.
Brotherhood!
If this is going to be truly seamless, then we have to talk about Melissa's teeth for at least 5 more minutes.
I don't think I can stomach that, dude.
Or our own. I can't stomach
that. That was a good clip.
Yeah.
Literally haven't heard it in 3 weeks
I
since
know.
we recorded.
We're hoping it was good, guys.
Nor have I heard it just now. Hey, guys, it's 10 seconds later for us.
I alluded to, and I didn't mean to, but I guess we can say Melissa now, at this time, has been in foster care for, I want to say, close to a month, right?
I think so.
Yeah. And I don't think our Aunt Lori will be offended by our saying that she was the one that put it in motion, as those emails probably indicated. But, yeah, so it came down to it, and I had, tearful text message, if that's even a thing, from Melissa saying that she was with the CPS people. And my mind was blown because this was the threat I had made a month prior to this. And somebody else made the move.
Harassing threat.
Yeah. People are going to think you're serious. I'm worried about all the legal issues now.
I don't
it wasn't harassing, in my opinion. And it's
just
an opinion. Everything, once CPS comes in, everything happens really, really fast. And the story I've heard is that CPS showed up to check out the situation. Mom went cuckoo and threatened to commit suicide in front of the social workers.
And in front of a sheriff.
Yeah, the sheriff was there too. And our stepdad, whose name let's not say just for the sake of it, episode 17, Dear Vincent, he apparently was arrested for reported physical abuse against our sister as well.
Whoa, I didn't know that part.
Yes. I have heard of a couple tales of pushing.
Yeah, I mean, I knew that it was said that was happening, but I didn't know that he was arrested.
Oh, I just remembered the story behind this. I think it came up in the clip, actually. Our aunt had Melissa for a week and had asked about any abuse going on, and Melissa said that the listeners know.
Yeah,
she was stinger punched or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay.
Donkey punched, I think. That is seriously my favorite Elmore Leonard book. Is Donkey
Punch? Yeah, it's classic. See, I was worried there wasn't going to be enough jokes in this one, but we're already doing great.
Yeah, they're good ones too.
So, within 2 days of her being in foster care, there's a hearing that the family is made aware of. What? What did I do?
Sorry, that was just a fart joke.
That wasn't a joke. That was a fart.
Keeping it light.
There was an official term for it, but I think it's a family consultation. It's a hearing for all all involved and caring family to attend and decide where Melissa's going to go from here.
I did not make it.
You had to work that day, right? You got a kid.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were not there, but and our aunt, who cares for Melissa more than anybody, I think it's safe to say, obviously wanted to be there but didn't think she could until she'd caught wind that it was very likely that our dad and our stepmom were going to be attending as well. And she didn't want them railroading the social workers with their lies.
Mm-hmm.
She wanted to be there with printed emails from Dad from the past year, which I love, because he bashed neckfritters the whole time. So, yeah, so I decided I'm going to show up. It's Tacoma. It's not that far from me. I'm going to meet up with Lori and Janine an hour ahead of time. We're going to sort things out. I wore a tie. Turns out I was way overdressed for the occasion.
What did Dad wear? A speaker?
You're giving too much away. But and then, like, so we're just sitting in Lori and Janine's car like a half hour prior to, and they've all got notes, and I'm totally unprepared. I don't even have a pin to my name at this point. And then, so I'm drinking a 7-Eleven coffee in the back, and within 10 seconds, my jittery hands like spill it all over my white shirt. And so then I'm super paranoid about that, thinking not only am I gonna, everybody there is gonna be wearing a tie, but I got a coffee stain and I wasn't sporting a blazer of any kind to cover up the situation. So instead, even though I realized everybody else was wearing polos and khakis, including the people that were in charge of the event, I folded my arms in my chest, and nobody knew. Nobody knew.
The whole time you stayed like that? So you just looked really mad?
Yeah. And if Dad had been there, that would have been really telling.
Yeah, so Dad didn't show up.
No, it gets to be, who did show up is our stepdad, though.
Interesting.
Yes. Along with...
was he wearing like an orange prison jumpsuit?
He was. He had brass knuckles on both fists, which was strange, a little intimidating. No, he came in, and you know what? I have no resentment against that guy. He showed up about 10 minutes before we all went into the scary room. And, I didn't talk to him much, but I said hi. Good to see you,
Uh-huh.
Yeah, have you ever really had any resentment towards our stepdad?
Just in the last little while when all that Denise stuff was going on and he got involved, like that kind of pissed me off.
Oh, right.
He should have never gotten involved. It was none of his business. That made me mad. Plus, you hear the stories of him pushing around Melissa.
Right, but does that make you mad?
Not really.
For humor, you said that. So this hearing is, first of all, we all have to write our names on fucking name tags, and it's instantly taking me back to elementary school because the lady introduces herself and explains that we're all going to go around the room and say what our relationship is with Melissa and how we feel about the situation or whatever. And it just reminded me of my name is Nick. I'm on a bus, and I brought an A for apple. Remember that fucking bullshit?
I'm on a bus?
Forget it.
Got it.
You don't, though. No, let's spend 10 more minutes on it. So the only time I talked, I think, at all was the first when I had to introduce myself. I said I'm her brother. Oh, and the greatest thing is,
Did you jump in and then jump out and then introduce yourself?
Yeah, turn myself about.
My name is Nick. I am a coffee spiller.
Gonna be a coffee spiller every day of my life. I'm skipping too far ahead, though, because Dad's not there. But they do get him and our mom, who is institutionalized in Western State at this very moment. And by this very moment, I mean at the time this was going on. And so they patched in Dad on one line and Mom on the other, and all of a sudden they were there in the room.
Was Dad calling from work or from home?
Yeah, from work. He was at work. Couldn't be bothered to take the day off. I bet he would not have worn a tie either. But he was all accounted for, and Mom... They have to ask her a couple questions.
Meanwhile, at this point, he's just got to be pissed. Like, why did everyone get involved? Why couldn't they just let this keep on going the way it was going?
Right. Because he doesn't want to foot the bill at any time.
Yeah, and now his life is just disrupted. And
yes.
He's having to call in for this thing, and he's having to deal with his wife, who's on turbo bitch mode.
Right. Okay, so at the time that they patched Dad in, Melissa's in the room. They explained that they're going to bring our little sister in, and they're going to ask her a couple of questions, but in the presence of everybody, and then they're going to take her out and we're going to talk like adults. So they bring her in, and she's super shy. I had just had a very, and I'll say it, a very tearful conversation on both ends the day before with her, the day she got taken away. But by this time, she looked okay. Like I don't know, her social worker at the time, pretty hot, by the way.
Really?
Yeah. And she seemed to get along well with Melissa, be what she needed in that moment. because Melissa latches on to women most of all.
Lesbian.
So future lesbian. She hasn't worked those feelings out yet. So they basically ask her, how are things going with your foster care? Dad's on the line by this point, and when he finds out Melissa's in the room, because they go around the room and include Melissa, like say your name. And so Melissa's first. And as soon as Melissa says, "My name is Melissa," Dad on speakerphone is like, "Melissa, it's so great to hear your voice, honey."
Oh, God.
Yeah, like, sorry I couldn't be there for the most devastating moment of your life.
It's good to hear your voice. Too bad you're 5 whole miles away from me. And we can't see each other.
I just couldn't pull myself away from work.
Yeah.
Except for when Neckforders makes me call in sick to paint. That's probably a true story. And then I thought it was funny because directly after Melissa introduced herself, it went to our Aunt Lori and Janine and then me. And Dad had not word one to say to any of us. Not nice to hear your voice, son. Although by this time he knows I disowned him.
Yeah.
So when they get Mom on speakerphone, she's currently in the hospital. And so she has... First of all, they're trying to just get basic information out of her. Can you hear everything okay? And she's mumbling and, like, barely there, like, mentally. And who knows how much of it is a show? I can't tell with Mom anymore. But it got to the point where it was a problem, and the supervisor that was there, making sure she didn't cut herself with a plastic fork, ended up being the interpreter for the entire meeting for Mom, which I thought was also really weird. And Dad's hearing this whole thing. It's the first time he's heard Mom's voice in like 12 years. He's fucking jerking off and pissed off that he's jerking off. There's nothing hotter than a crazy chick. You know that.
And I want to say this for Neckforders who's listening right now.
Yeah, we know for a fact she is.
Every time my dad would have sex with his ex-wife, my mom, Melissa was in the bed with him. So you want to keep blaming everyone else for her problems and the fact that you just ignore them? He would tell stories after Mom cheated on him with Dear Vincent, and he openly.
I like that his nickname contains his actual name now.
Dad openly told Russ, who came for a visit.
Oh God, I remember this terrible.
Because Melissa slept in that bed every day of her life with them, every day.
You did too until about 12, which explains you.
Not
too.
every day. And he said, "Oh, and I was kissing her and realizing all the emotions that I was never showed her enough love, and started doing that. And we pushed Melissa to the side of the bed and we made love." Okay, so Melissa was in the bed, Neckforders, constantly while he was pounding my mom's vagina, just pounding it. Because the way he is probably too terrified to even get it up around her.
No, I'm sure. I've heard about his Viagra incidents. Yeah, turns out it doesn't work as well for him as it does for me.
Yeah.
Is that too far?
I've heard a little bit about that. I remember after he first got married, he was telling me something about being unable to get it up.
I don't consider a dad until we've had a talk about his erectile dysfunction.
Oh,
anyway, Neckforders.
So that was a personal attack. That was the first personal attack.
I'm proud of us, except for that clip that we haven't heard in 3 weeks. Yeah. Who knows what the fuck we said in that? But I will say now that she's especially tuned in. This one's for you, buddy.
Yeah.
This one's for you, Neckforders.
Yeah.
So the hearing is a mess. They go around the room after everybody's been introduced, and they're basically starting, counterclockwise, which was confusing. Let's be traditional about it. And they went around to first Lori and Janine, I think. They're like, what's your relationship with Melissa, and what is your reason for not being able to take care of her right now? And so Lori and Janine, they've got a lot going. I don't remember what exactly they said, but they made it clear that it wasn't an option at this time. And I was waiting, but it never got personal. Every time anybody was asked, everybody wanted to say, because my dad is her fucking functional father and has the money,
the environment, the house, the shelter.
Right. He has all available means to take
genes in his body.
Yeah. And he's not in a mental institution. Yeah. He can properly raise her if he divorces his wife.
Yeah.
Obviously, that wasn't an option.
But it wasn't like that was the thing. It's not like you have to get divorced and then raise Melissa in your own apartment.
According to my borderline threatening email, that was misinterpreted.
Well, I'm just saying that this was not what we were necessarily asking him to do. We were asking him to take care of Melissa. If he had a wife who had any sympathy at all, who would allow him to take Melissa into the home, that would be a completely different story.
Right, and
But
that was
she can't do that right now because her brother jumped off a cliff in Hawaii. And I'm allowed to say that because she tells everybody that.
Yeah.
That's like her go-to thing. If we end up going to court, I will find 20 people.
Spoiler alert again.
I'm sorry, I will find 200 people who she's told that story to.
No, she CC'd half of America on that one. And it was made clear even in that email to Lori. She purports to be so concerned about Melissa. Give me a fucking break.
But in such...
has not been to her house in the time that they've been married.
Yeah, and in such...
because her teeth stuck too far out and she couldn't handle it.
The points that she makes to prove that point, like, is exactly what shows what's wrong with her saying, like, I care about the fact that Melissa has had her teeth rotting out of her head for 12 years, don't you? And it's like, yeah, we do. That's why we want something to change right now. And she just wants to let it keep on going.
Right. And she went about it all right.
Mm-hmm.
And Vincent's reason, dear Vincent's reason for not being able to take care of Melissa, aside from the charges apparently being...
It's a pending investigation.
Okay.
It's an ongoing investigation.
But he said...
I can't discuss ongoing investigations.
But
that's what I'm saying.
It was clear that one of the social workers asking the questions didn't know that and then was given that information like right after Dear Vincent answered. But I liked his answer, which was, when her mom comes out of the hospital, she's going to be handful enough. I can't handle it anymore. And you know what? I sympathize with that. He's been very patient, except for the stinger punches, for about 12 years now. And then, it comes to Dad, and he says, they finally get around to him. Mom, they don't even ask because she's got a straitjacket on.
Does they ask for the orderly's advice? What do you think should happen?
Well, she seems sweet enough to me. But they ask Dad, of course, and he says, I just can't do it. And then he draws it out for a couple minutes, but basically his point is he doesn't have the financial means. His house is not equipped to take his daughter in right now, which is total fucking bullshit.
He was happy to let her live at Mom's house. Yeah. Tell me how that place was equipped.
Pubic lice jumping out from the carpet.
Dad's house is clean. It's immaculate.
Yeah.
That's going to change that's going to change so much.
Hey, Neckforders, I'll give you credit for that. You keep a clean household.
It runs a tight ship.
Yeah.
Some of the decorations
If she could write us an email and let her know if she puts the toilet paper under or over, I'd really like to know that as well.
She's got some very tacky things hanging on the wall. Like, there's a picture by their computer, and it's one of those ones that, like, lights up. It's like the Last Supper or something like that. No, it's one of those rainforest ones. And like,
I also want to know her religious beliefs. Do you think she'll come on for episode 100? I'll bet she fucking would.
I would do it. I would do it.
I would do it too.
If it was her and Dad, I would do it.
And bodyguard for each of us.
If it was her, Dad, we all bring our lawyers. We'll do it.
Yeah, that seems likely. I'm going to go ahead and say that's going to happen. Anyway, this hearing ends up being total bullshit. We're all just furious at Dad. Basically, what it comes down to is one of Melissa's best friends who also has special needs. Her mom has been pretty close with Melissa the last several years. She assists in all these special need programs that Melissa ends up going to. And I think she does consider this woman's daughter her best friend, who has CP, I think. Mm-hmm. That's a cerebral person. But she ends up, she was just there to give our stepdad a ride. And she ends up being the first to volunteer to take our sister in, which is fucking amazing and not at all what anybody expected. And then, it was clear that me and Lori and Janine were just uncomfortable. We're blood related to this chick. Well, Janine's not, but
I feel like it was her duty to step up to the plate. I really do.
Yeah.
Of course.
You didn't even come in on speakerphone.
Of course she should have volunteered.
You could have been there on speakerphone, Peter. You don't have a say in the matter. I wore a tie. Wins or not, I learned it just for the occasion.
What day of the week was this on?
Like a Wednesday. I mean, it made sense that you weren't there.
I don't even work on Wednesdays.
Oh, shit.
I got school and shit. It's 150 miles away.
Okay. But that's basically it. Melissa, what is it now? 4 weeks later, mm-hmm. She is still living, I think, with the same foster parent that first took her in. And you know what? I talked to her, I'd say every other day on the phone.
Anyway, so she didn't end up taking her in.
Oh,
she's in a foster home right now.
Yeah.
And it was like, let's put her in this temporarily. Maybe. Should we even be saying his name?
No, I didn't. I made sure not to.
Oh, sorry. Maybe this lady will take her in. Maybe Lori and Janine will take her in. we'll see how foster care goes. Turns out it's going pretty well. That's where she's
At least as far as I can tell. Like, there were times...
They're collecting a paycheck, the family.
Right. And from the sounds of it, the background, every time I talk to her, Melissa, on the phone, there's a lot more fucked up kids than her in there.
Really?
Yeah. It sounds like they're being murdered half the time. And maybe they are. Maybe it's not such a great environment for her. But no, I talk to her about every other day now. And she does seem genuinely happy. And she doesn't bust out into the baby voice as often. Like,
No.
I think whatever they're doing it right for the time being. Yeah. I know she still misses everybody. And I didn't know until last night that it was okay to give her your phone number. But I'm happy to do that because I think she's getting bored with just me and Lori.
Yeah.
But I guess, she tells me...
Well, I don't have to worry about Mom getting it anymore. That's all I was worried about. I can handle 20 texts a day from Melissa. I just ignore most of them.
Yeah, that's what I used to do, but now I feel so guilty.
Now that there's no risk of Mom getting it, that's fine.
Right. So Melissa tells me stories, I don't ask, but she'll tell me, I talked to Dad yesterday, and then I say, oh yeah, how'd that go? She says, well, he told me that he had to delete his Facebook because of you, and also that you tried to talk him into kidnapping me. And I'm like, Dad, your petty bullshit does not need to be told to your mentally retarded daughter.
No.
Don't fucking bring her into this drama. Like, she's already having a tough enough time of it.
Yeah.
Fuck you.
Yeah.
That is so uncalled for.
Yeah. It's like he wants to get one person on his side, so he's going for Melissa.
I want to say one more thing, and then I think we should take a break. Is that cool?
Yes.
Listeners are going to have to suffer some breaks. Another phone call I got, it was, tell me about the text that you got from Lori that you forwarded to me about, a week ago now?
Oh, yeah.
Because this ties into a phone call that Melissa had with Lori. Oh, yeah. You're pulling it up.
Yeah, I'm
such a professional.
I'm going to search for it.
And you're smoking pot, asshole.
All right, the text I got from Lori was exactly a week ago. This is from Lori. Melissa was talking to her dad today and said that she could hear in the background getting mad.
Neckfurters, dude.
Oh, sorry.
Start again and say neckfurters.
Melissa was talking to her dad today and said that she could hear neckfurters in the background getting mad. I asked why, and she said it was because Neckfurters was listening to the podcast.
Right.
Hilarious.
Which is fascinating because... I've talked about it on this very show before, but I'm happy to say it again now so that Neckfurters doesn't have to go back and look for it. Dad discovered the podcast 9 episodes in. That's almost 2 years ago now.
Yeah.
Episode 9, Neckfurters, as it turns out, is what it was called. And it was the first time we really laid into her or explained, our situation with our stepmother. And Dad heard it. I mean, he knew that we were doing the show. I think he was just trying it out. Or he read the show notes, which I'm sure said, I hate you, Neckfurters. And then, so he tipped me off that he'd heard it. And, we're driving around. It's on one of his 4-hour visits with our sister. And he says, I just want to let you know I heard Neckfurters the other day. And I go, really? You listen to it? And he says, well, only about the first 10 minutes. I had to turn it off. And he told me at that time, I could never, ever tell her about this. You know that, right? So now that she does know about it, it's obvious that when Dad got pissed because now he's being stuck with all this money, I presume, and nobody would listen to him when he said she was fine living in Pubic Lice Haven. Mm-hmm. So,
and from the moment she wrote those first emails from the first clip, living with her just has to be hell.
Right. So his revenge, now that nothing's gone his way in the last month, is to tip her off and be like, hey, my sons are talking shit about you on the internet. Why is that?
Look what I just
That's going to
found.
make his life better now?
Yeah.
She's going to lose this lawsuit that I'm going to go ahead and say now. I shouldn't have. First, I should say, okay, so I talked to Melissa after I'd seen that, after we knew that Neckfurters had heard the show. And so I get Melissa's account of it, and she says, yeah, I was talking to Dad, and then I heard Neckfurters yelling in the background, and Dad had to move to another room. And I asked him what that was, and he says, oh, Neckfurters just listened to the podcast, which is information I already had. But I got an additional detail. I said, so did you hear what she was yelling? What is she yelling? And she said all she heard was, no, which I love to imagine. And she's doing it again right now.
Yeah.
Oh, it's fucking brilliant.
But hey, this one isn't for you, neckfurters. I know we've literally said this is for you.
This
We're
one
just
is for
talking
you.
to you. You're choosing to listen.
Yeah.
We're not mailing the MP3
And I
to
think
you.
that's her main case is like we're harassing her. If we were sending her like a burned CD of the episodes that we talk about her,
Yeah.
like anonymously,
Yeah.
sure, harassment. But guess what? You would have known about this if my dad wasn't a dickhole.
Yeah.
Just know that it's got to be especially humiliating to know that this has been going on for. We have a hardcore group of listeners that know how awful she is.
Yeah.
And she had no idea until recently. God, I want to jerk off to this notion. She also does, I don't imagine, like, my crass sense of humor, which is why I'm amping it up big time today.
What must she think about the way we talk and the things we say?
The way we were raised. Why doesn't she ask Dad what kind of father he was?
Yeah.
But inject him with a true serum first.
Yeah.
So can we go to break now? Because I feel like we've really given away the spoiler.
That's all right. Tell the listeners it'll be like 10 seconds from now.
Okay.
We really get into it.
But I feel like I need a cigarette before I can even do it. I'm sweating right now anticipating this.
Hey, I heard that.
I heard it. Okay, guys. Best episode ever?
Don't pee on my leg and tell me it's raining.
When you got into all the sex stuff and why Melissa's hooked up, it's so great. This is what we do, guys. On breaks, we just jerk each other off about how funny we've just been. We've teased it too much. You want to go right into the email? Okay, so even once I'd found out that she'd heard it, that Dad had, I'm not going to say tipped her off again. Otherwise, we got to name the episode that. It's been like 6 times now. But I posted even on Facebook, I'd say 2 days before I got this email, lawsuit presumably pending, because we know how she works. In fact, don't you have a good story about that?
Yeah, I do. But also I want to point out that right after I got that text from Lori that I just read, I texted you, did you just get the same text from Lori that I did? And you said, no, what is it? And then I sent you that text. And the first thing you said back was, wow, I'll bet she threatens to sue us.
Yeah.
And that is the first thing I said to Alvina, too.
Yeah. Obviously, that's how her brain works.
Yeah.
I'm pissed. I'm going to file a nuisance lawsuit.
Yeah. And I just last night, I remembered that one time Dad called, and Dad would always complain about what a bitch she was and just how terrible she was. But he seemed very proud of stories where it was like, it must have been a great month in his life, where she would focus on something else.
How long ago was this? Were they still having sex?
Years ago.
Yeah,
Who
years.
knows if he could. But like she would start feuds with somebody else, like say a bank teller or an olive oil company or something like that. And he would love it because for as long as it lasted, he got a break. That's what I think.
Yeah.
So he would always brag these stories.
What you're saying, she's focusing her anger on something other than him for
right?
the moment?
Yeah, and then he can be like a confidant in her, like, yeah,
Get him.
yeah.
And I may have told this before, but the best example I can think of is when I was still dating Storytelling, and we went and met them at Pizza Hut in the middle of the day on a Saturday. And we were, first of all, Neckfurters was complaining about how it was taking too long. They better have heard me say no jalapeno. I don't know what the fuck it was, but there was a birthday party going on with like a group of 12 or so 5-year-olds and their parents
At Pizza Hut.
at Pizza Hut. This particular Pizza Hut even had like almost a playland.
Yeah.
And she was complaining the whole time about how loud it was, and I'm like, are you fucking kidding me?
When I went to Applebee's with them here in Yakima, Gabe from the show was our waiter. She fucking hated him.
Yeah. Yeah, you told me that too.
And I remember hearing a story once about it was after I started working at Olive Garden, and Dad had a story about Olive Garden. It was that they went there and he had gotten spaghetti, presumably a lunch size because they're on a budget.
Yep, you've told this story.
And have I on the show?
Yeah, but just hit the clip notes, please.
So he's finished with his spaghetti. They take the plate away. She complains to a manager, they took the plate away when there was still sauce in there. What if you wanted to dip the breadsticks in there? And then the manager offered, well, I'll bring you some meat sauce and some fresh breadsticks. No, he didn't want to, but he could have wanted to. And if anything, she's just justifying not leaving a tip. I barely knew Gabe. Like, I knew him by face only. This is probably the second time I'd ever even talked to him.
What a face.
And
what a puss on that guy.
And I had told Dad that Michael Crichton died. And then he was like, whoa, really? Michael Crichton died? was so offended that our waiter would come join the conversation like that.
We've definitely talked about this.
Insisted on paying, insisted on stiffing, and I went back and left a cash tip. I did I forgot my phone. And
my favorite part about this being a retread, an already told story, is that Neckforders is technically, I think, our biggest fan of the show, because I think she's listened to all 97.
We are getting record downloads.
Yes, we are. We have her to thank for that. But yeah, I like the idea that she's one of the ones, because she's not the only one, but she's amongst the people now that are like, dude, you already told that story. Let's move along. Because she's more into this than anybody right now. I've never been more into an episode.
She wishes we were doing a live
I've never
show
had
right
more fun recording than I am right now, but she's having more fun in her own fucked up way.
We should have been doing this as a live show, or we should invite
Then we
her.
would have had chat feedback about her Neckforders and why she's called Neckforders.
We can make it be known that we're doing a live show soon, and she'll join in. That'll be fun.
Okay, well, we should announce then that episode 100, we won't give away all the details yet because we haven't worked them out. But portions of the show, well, one big portion of the show will be live.
Yeah.
So keep an eye on our Facebook. Hey, let's do plugs. Let's bum this thing out right in the middle.
All right.
Just kidding. We'll save it.
No, please. We'll put it on Facebook.
Seriously?
Well, she needs to know.
Oh yeah, you're right. Okay, so you can contact us or keep informed of our goings on.
Well, we don't have to go for an hour about it. Let's wrap it up. We're going to be doing a live show. We'll post on Facebook.
Become a fan on Facebook if you haven't yet. That's what I'm stressing.
We're losing fans.
Well, I know, and
they're probably her various Facebook accounts that now she's taking away to help out her kids.
I have noticed lately that our numbers are depleting, but our actual downloads are increasing, so that's what confuses me. So if you didn't know we're on Facebook, it's easy. Just type in Planned Brotherhood. Weigh in on this Neckfurter situation. You won't want to maybe quite yet, but give it 10 minutes.
Yeah.
But when you do want to, let us know.
Warning, you may all be character witnesses.
Go ahead and leave us a voicemail, 206-338-7562. We'd appreciate the legal advice. Or brotherofallpodcast@gmail.com.
Yeah.
Let's move right on to this fucking email.
Yeah, but the other story was that, or actually read the email first. It'll be good.
Don't forget this.
It'll be good to tell it.
Okay. All right, so this is the predicted email. 2 days, I'd say, after we found out she'd heard. Nick, I like that it's just to me.
Yeah, she chose you.
This is going to take a long time, guys. I literally got to the greeting of the email, and I'm already complaining.
Let's read it, and then let's dissect it.
Really?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay. Yeah.
Because then, the listener will have their favorite parts.
Okay. So we'll go through and read it.
Uh-huh.
No comments, PJ. But then we may want to go through it again. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Then we go through.
Nick, I have spoken to my family lawyer of over 20 years today. I met with him for 2 hours. We discussed the harassment from you toward myself and some of my family on your podcast. He told me that harassment is illegal, which I already knew, and advised me so we're still allowed to laugh.
I'm very smart. Yeah.
And advised me to request you stop immediately. I have had prior experience with obtaining a harassment order, which was granted by the judge in the Bellevue court, and my first step is to inform you to stop. My next step is to go to court and request a harassment order against you. At that time, you will be served a court-ordered date where you and I will go before the judge, and I will describe and give specific details on how your broadcasts and your emails have affected me and my daughter. Just so you are completely informed of the court procedure, the judge will look at your prior record, which I have already done, and if requested, my lawyer can provide the exact details of all of your many prior records on file. In addition, you inadvertently described on your public broadcast how you were not really the one who wrote the harassing letters to your dad, but instead you had Margaret coaching you on what to write.
How is that inadvertent?
Shut up. This was your idea. And that you thought it was so funny to give him a deadline of 3 p.m. and then saying you were on your way out of town at that time. Your mention of your sister as a retard, repeatedly, along with the many other derogatory remarks about her, are also unacceptable, and I will bring this to the court as evidence. I have a recording of everything that you, Patrick, and Elvina have described about myself and my daughter as evidence as well.
Everybody has that fucking recording. It's a podcast.
PJ, shut up.
Sorry.
My lawyer is Bloobity Blue, phone number 206-932 Bloobity Blue. Call him if you need any clarification on any of this. Or her. My obtaining of a court order against your harassment is between myself and you. I will take the necessary steps with my lawyer immediately if you do not stop discussing things about myself or any of my family members on your podcast. Neckforders. Thoughts?
I think the first thing to mention is that she makes, and this is Janine pointed this out first, she makes a point to say, this is between me and you. So basically she's saying she must be saying don't talk about it on the podcast. But so she says, this is between me and you.
Even though you should be brought into the fold. You talk about her just as much and just as viciously.
And she's got it addressed to you, but she's got it CC'd to me, Lori, Janine, and my wife.
I don't think Janine was initially involved.
Okay.
I think it was me. She sent it to me.
Way to make Janine feel bad, dude.
What?
Way to make Janine feel bad.
I know. She wants to be a part of it. You're right. So, yeah, that's the the last of many flaws. So you want me to start reading again, and then now you can stop me.
I mean, there's a lot of things to call out there. The saying, I have a recording of you guys talking about it. Yeah, we provided...
So does the whole fucking world.
We provided that recording for you free of charge.
No, see, now she's going to misinterpret that. We didn't provide it for her.
Okay, we provided it to the internet. We provided it for literally anybody in the world.
We designed this show
who chooses to listen to it.
And the people that choose to listen is because they enjoy our company for an hour or more or less every week.
Or they're our stepmom.
I want to sue her for maliciously choosing to listen to our podcast. She knew she wasn't going to enjoy it. Do you like to think, though, that she chuckles from time to time? She gets over herself?
It sounds like she just screams no a lot. I wonder if Dad chuckles. That's what I wonder.
Oh, no way. She made him get rid of his chuckle gland first year into their marriage.
So,
come on, she didn't laugh at that? That was fucking gold. Best joke I've told in weeks.
There's that. There's the fact that she addressed it just to you. The prior experience in obtaining, there's other things too. There's the fact that you're calling Melissa of a retard is unacceptable, and she'll present.
Well, let's
that
go in
to
order
her lawyer.
here. Let's go in order.
Okay.
Because you were first going to mention, and she mentions this in the first paragraph. I have had prior experience with obtaining a harassment order, which was granted by the judge in Bellevue Court.
Yeah.
So what was your comment on that?
I know what that order was. This is one of Dad's braggart stories about a war she would start. It was something about they always live in condos or something. They've lived in probably 20 different condos in the same like 3-city radius in 12 years. They just buy and sell because she hates something about all of them.
Yeah.
So they were using a parking spot they weren't supposed to be using. She denied using it, and the landlord or whatever said, well, our parking lot is monitored by video surveillance, and there's signs everywhere that says this, and we've observed your daughter parking in this spot repeatedly. So Dad gives me a computer one time, just gives me an old computer one time, and on there I find the threatening email exactly like the one she wrote you.
This is her pastime.
To the landlord of this place about how she's going to obtain an anti-harassment order because the way they said that they were observing her daughter scared her daughter into thinking that she was being watched constantly, like it's the fucking movie Sliver or something like that, and made her fear for her safety. They had to skip work for 3 days because they were too afraid to go outside because of Big Brother watching them and all this stuff. Like, oh, so that's what she does. She writes these super duper emails. I would love to see the anti-harassment order that she says was issued by Bellevue Court. And surely if she can find your records, we can find that. And I won't call you Shirley anymore.
I just woke your daughter up with that laugh. And wasn't there one other example that you discovered through the computer? Oh, this is slightly related.
Yeah, this was much earlier on in their marriage, and I
was so angry just then.
She had an email. It seemed like a just in case thing, like in case anything ever comes of Melissa. And this is back when Melissa's like 6 years old. She just had all this evidence stacked up to like smear Mom's name just in case she needed it. You know what I mean? It was just a list of documented cases of things she's observed about Melissa's behavior.
Let's hear 2 examples.
And how it's all Mom's fault. One was, I'm sure her hygiene or something like that. I can only really remember one, and that was Melissa, and this is something I really don't want to get into. Melissa used to do something called the butt rub. And when little kids...
I don't want to get into it, but I will give it the funniest name ever.
I remember being a little kid and playing with my boo-boo, and it felt weird and stuff like that. But, you kind of just realize, I probably shouldn't do this in front of people.
Yeah, let's take it to the bedroom.
In 10 years, I'm going to do it big time. But, right now, it's an every now and then thing. But Melissa didn't have that faculty to realize, maybe I shouldn't do this in front of people. She did, and it was acceptable to Mom and Dad.
Right. Dad would encourage the butt rub.
He thought it was hilarious.
On his knee, the butt rub.
Edit that out.
Why?
But,
we were saying the butt rub. People know what a butt is, and they know what a rub motion looks like.
Yeah. Anyway, so that was one of the things she observed. And that's the thing. That was what was so crazy, because this was probably less than a year after they got married.
Right.
In fact, I want to say it was much less than a year. I think I may have still been living in that house alone when I got this computer. So that's what she does. She writes these emails. Okay, that's
She's writing one of Skittles right now. Because she doesn't like blue.
She wrote one to an olive oil company because of the olive oil tasted bad, and got 2 huge jars of it. I mean, I heard all about it. They're very proud of it. So you text me that we got this email from...
Right.
And will you pass that bad boy laptop back?
Sure. I got this email, I'd say I didn't realize that I had this email from her until about midnight, the night that it came in. And by that time, I was pretty tatered, I'd just come from hanging out. And so I was pretty drunk, and I wasn't angry at first. It took the 4th time reading through in 10 minutes. I was just stunned. We predicted that it would happen. We knew that it would happen. But it was so poorly written and I don't know. And Dad knows that it's happening. He knows she's writing this in the moment that she's writing it.
Yeah.
He probably corrected her on some spelling. But
I think we pointed out before that her spelling in the first emails to Lori were ridiculous.
Yeah, that seems petty. I don't like to be petty.
Mm-hmm.
I like to set an example on this show.
You say you saw it at midnight, but I didn't get a text from you until 2:30. And I didn't even see it till the next day.
Well, okay. Maybe the email came in at midnight, and I didn't discover it until I got home at 1:30 or 2. And so I texted you, oh my God. Nick Fritters texted or
emailed us.
And I was just hoping you were still awake. I didn't want to call you. You've got a life of your own, Fortunately, our Uncle Tracy, who works a weird schedule, happened to be on Facebook as I was not being able to fall asleep at 4 a.m. And so I was able to vent a lot of my frustrations. And this entire time, I'm almost right. I've started emails back to her with the most vicious shit I can think of, correctly spelled, of course, even in my drunken haze. And there were some good lines. I wish I'd saved the drafts, but I never ended up sending them. Tracy talked me down from the ledge.
Really?
And then I get an email. And then I get a text from you that I wake up to the next morning. And you'd already emailed her back.
Yeah.
As soon as you woke up in the morning, you felt compelled.
Well, I think that...
But it was your right to read it. She CC'd you, for God's sake.
Yeah, I mean, it was sent to me. Honestly, I think it was not until the second time I read it that I realized that it was addressed to just you.
Strictly me.
Yeah. But since she CC'd me, I did write her back. I had a couple drafts, too. It pretty much almost all got in here, but this is what I said. Neck Fritters. I can't believe I refrained from saying her name right there. Clearly you want a war. And I almost bit and sent you a very lengthy response, but I've decided against it. I'm too busy with work, family, and, as you know, a very successful podcast to be brought into petty BS. I didn't want to curse. I will wait for your lawyer's letter and call the papers when I am the first person sued for not liking his stepmother. I'm sorry if your own family has tired of your shenanigans and you feel the need to move on to us. Unfortunately, you married my dad 12 years ago, made him throw out all childhood pictures of us, and I was abandoned in the home of my childhood without knowing where to go. As a result, I, like a lot of almost 30-year-olds, am not scared of either my failure of a father or my evil stepmother.
Got a little flustered there. You're getting too into it.
I was cordial to you for the sake of my dad seeing his granddaughter. Since you seem determined to never let that happen again, will you do me one favor? Let him keep at least one picture of her Even inmates of a maximum security prison are afforded that small luxury.
Best line in the email. I want to see that embroidered on a napkin.
As always, thank you for the downloads. PJ. I hate my PSs, but they're...
I love your PSs. Let's go one at a time. I hate that you did 2 PSs.
Yeah.
Get it all out in one.
I never know whether to do PPS or PSS.
You got it right. PPS.
Postscript.
Yeah.
PS, please don't respond because I hate you. It will just go in my trash folder. PPS, I am CCing this to everyone you did, plus a couple more because I know you love an audience.
So who were the couple more? Uncle Tracy and Janine.
And Janine.
Yeah. Fucking great. When I saw that you wrote that, I couldn't believe that you wrote it. I was like, is this a draft? And then I saw that she was, the actual send to. But I was really moved by it. Like, I couldn't get over it, especially that prisoner line, man. That is fucking brilliant.
One thing I left out was...
Well, you're looking at the parts you cut out?
Yeah.
This is a director's cut of Planned Brotherhood.
We have never used your last name. We could be talking about any horrible person who married a man and forced him to turn his back on 3 children, not giving a shit if they became homeless. But if you'd prefer, we'll stick to the nickname Neckfurters. You do know the origin of the name Neckfurters, don't you? It is when the fat rolls on the back of someone's neck resembles a package of hot dogs.
Petty BS, PJ. That's what I say.
That is petty BS. That's what I wanted to refrain from.
And I'm glad that you wrote her, and more eloquently than I ever could. And how much later?
Well, you wrote back, "Hey, Dad, you're a
no. Before that, though, you inspired me to do that.
Yeah.
How much time between this email that you sent to Neckfurters before you sent Dad? Do you have those texts?
I sent the text before the email.
Oh, you did?
I sent the text, took a shower, and then came out and
You jerk off in the shower? Or are you too mad?
Not that day.
Oh.
Yeah, I wrote him it was even earlier than I thought it did. These are emotional and stupid.
No, I like them. And then I'll read my emotional, stupid one.
7:58 a.m. I write, your wife is a nut job, dude. Don't you care about ever seeing Sophie again? I hate that I use her as a weapon. Divorce her, please. Divorce her. Sophie, I'm talking about.
How many minutes later before he writes you back?
An hour and 4 minutes.
So he's thinking about it. He jerked off in the shower himself.
I do care about seeing, but according to your wife, I'm not allowed.
So obviously Dad's hearing these podcasts now too.
Yeah.
She's picking, highlight moments.
What episode is that?
Episode 90, This Bumbling Man.
This Bumbling Man.
Yeah. So I saw that you wrote that, and I couldn't believe that, he's acting like, oh, well, I have no right to see Sophie because your wife is being unreasonable. But Alvina came to that conclusion for a reason. Yeah. Why does he have the right to see his daughter, to see his granddaughter, when he has no interest?
But also, what I wrote back to him...
You saw where I was going.
What I wrote back to him was, ha, ha, ha. Okay, not all of us are controlled by their women, but okay. See you later. In court, I guess. And what I meant by that is that...
I think it's pretty clear.
Like, if Dad divorced...
Neckfurters.
Oh, sorry. I'm not saying what my wife said. I'm the man.
Oh, so you're saying...
I don't have to agree with
even
her.
At this point, like, after all the fucked up shit he's done recently.
Not the way it is right now. Some things would have to change.
Oh, but you're... Because Mom, I feel like there is no chance that she'll ever see your daughter again.
Mom's literally never going to change. And she can't. She medically can't. I'm pissed enough that I'm going to have schizophrenia and that I already display signs of it. Like, I'm mad at her about that. She gave me the gene.
That explains the southern drawl on the last cigarette break. Wow. So this inspired me to write a text to Dad also.
Yeah.
And mine is much more cheeseball and emotional. Do I even know where my phone is right now? You know what? I've replayed it enough in my head. I'm confident I can just say it.
Yeah.
Let me read it. May 6th, 11:46 a.m. Sleep well tonight, knowing your poor choice in women and unwillingness to acknowledge your mistakes has cost you a family. No response necessary. Goodbye, Dad. And he'd already known he was cut out at this time.
Yeah.
But I had to get that last word in there, and I wasn't going to give her the satisfaction of writing a brilliant email.
It reminded me of an episode title when I told Mom when she was leaving us.
I hope it's worth it.
I hope it's worth
Episode
it.
82, sure. Well, you got to make fun, dude. You don't think it was well written at least?
You made fun of me for saying I hope it's worth it.
Yeah, but that was 15-year-old emotions. Heart was on your sleeve back then. This is different. Like I don't normally get this agitated about anything.
Yeah.
Like I just cut Dad out. Like I didn't let him know that I wasn't talking to him anymore. After a certain point, I was just like, fuck it, he's done. But then I had to send this last one out. I wanted to make it official.
Yeah.
I didn't even give Mom that luxury. You should be thankful, Dad.
Yeah.
You got a proper goodbye. Actually, here's your proper goodbye. I'm flipping off a microphone right now.
Yeah. So
You want to read an inspiring story?
can we talk about that email that we got back from I won't say her name yet. We'll see if that's okay. Someone who works in a law firm who we know.
Yeah, we got representation,
And
bitch.
I don't know if that's accurate, but just lots of things. Like, just basically everything that we already knew, which is that there's no merit. This is a threatening email that, a copy of one almost, of ones that she's done years and years in the past. We know she's a faker. We know she's all talk. You know,
And we know she has no case, even if she were to get it up to that point. I'll wear a fucking tie to tell you First Amendment, free speech, Attica.
There's two goods that could come out of the comment she says when she tells you, I've spoken to my family lawyer of over 20 years today. I met with him for 2 hours. We discussed the harassment from you toward myself and some of my family on your podcast. Harassment meaning one time you said that you would bang her daughter. So there's the
My
harassment.
stepsister.
So
it was a worthy
Probably
story.
have to call in sick for a month now.
And I'll say her name too, Seagal. That was her nickname, right?
So there's two things. Like, I'm either very happy with the knowledge that this guy is in fact not practicing law.
Do you think he chuckled?
And that he sat there and had to listen to her on the phone for 2 hours.
Had to listen to us.
Without being able to charge her. Or I'm also happy with the other way if he is a practicing lawyer. Because that's like the first of just a little bit of money. Or that's just a little bit of what's going to be a lot of money that she's planning on sinking into this thing.
Right. And yet they don't have the means to take in our sister.
So
right now.
if you met with a lawyer for 2 hours, who our legal friend said is a very prominent lawyer in Seattle, you've already spent too much money. Do you want to just drop it now? If you write us an email, how about this? How about I throw out an offer without discussing it with you?
Yeah, please.
If you write us an email and say, let's say she has to include the sentence, "I'm all bark and no bite." She has to write that. Obviously, I'm not going to file a lawsuit. Please don't talk about me anymore.
Then we'll stop.
Okay. If it's got to say, "I bark but don't bite."
Now, wait. I committed to that too early. Can we still talk about childhood stories come up a lot. We can still bring Dad into it.
You know what? I take.
We
this
won't
back.
talk about her. No, don't take it back. I think it's fair.
I want to amend this offer. I think that if she writes us that email, maybe she can leave out all bark, no bite.
No.
Okay. Subject line, all bark, no bite.
This is why we should have talked about it.
You don't have to admit anything. Subject line, all bark, no bite.
Okay.
You don't have to CC anybody because I'll forward it to everybody who I know. And you say, you admit that you're not filing a lawsuit just so it's not even on the back of our heads anymore. We won't devote the next several episodes talking about this. We'll find something else.
We always do.
That's not a threat.
Gift.
I'm not saying if you don't write this email, we're going to devote all these episodes. What I'm saying is...
I just got a text from her lawyer. According to him, it's a threat.
No. I'm not saying that if you don't do it, we're going to devote all of them. But if you do it, then we won't devote.
Yeah.
We just won't. We'll make a decision not to.
I'm kind of exhausted talking about it anyway.
Your
personally.
nickname will still come up in episodes, and I'm sorry I can't budge on that. Your nickname will still come up in episodes.
Your nickname is too good. We can't help it.
And
she's part of a legacy.
For $5, do you remember who gave her that nickname?
This might be copyright infringement in a lawsuit we might actually have to worry about. I remember it being from an MTV show called Austin Stories, where somebody once said neck fritters. No?
I remember it.
Google it.
I remember it. I'm not connected to the internet.
I was talking to the listener. Don't worry about it.
I remember my friend David Goodbread, who eventually moved to Alaska, calling her that because he was still around. He met at one point. Didn't he? Do I remember that all wrong?
I was stunned that you said her actual name again.
I'm sorry. I think that David Goodbread came up with the name Neck Fritters. That's what I remember.
That could be. Who cares where?
As I thought.
We can't tape her off in such a fashion.
No. We still got to talk about Legal Guide for Bloggers. Do you want to read this?
Yeah.
You read it before.
Yeah. What are the elements of a defamation claim? The elements that must be proved.
This is for bloggers, right? Sorry to interrupt immediately.
I thought we'd already established that.
Website for bloggers.
Yeah, bloggers/podcasters. The elements that must be proved to establish defamation are: 1, a publication to one other than the person defamed. I'm already confused. How about you?
I don't know what that means.
Okay. A false statement of fact, which I don't feel like we've done any time.
No.
That is understood as A, being of and concerning the plaintiff and tending to harm the reputation of plaintiff. Should we be reading this now?
We're not doing that.
Okay, you're right. If the plaintiff is...
No one she knows is listening. We're not sending this to her.
No, we...
Superintendent when she works for special needs children, which is just so sick on its own.
If the plaintiff is a public figure, he or she must also prove actual malice. Now that she's famous for being neckfurters, is she considered a public figure?
Maybe for being a teacher, but that means that she's just got more to prove.
Right.
That's saying that it's like open season.
Is truth a defense to defamation claims? Yes or no?
Truth
Is truth a defense? Is truth our defense, let's say?
Yeah, it's the truth.
Yes.
We only speak truth.
Yes.
While doing characters.
Truth is an absolute defense to a defamation claim, but keep in mind that the truth may be difficult and expensive to prove. Well, guess what?
That's
Dad's going to die. I'm going to get a lot of money.
No, that's on her to pay for.
Yeah.
She's got to find the truth.
That was one point our legal representative/friend pointed out is go ahead and sue you. Like, your brother and you don't own any assets, any
nothing.
Property.
Nothing.
Come after us.
My car's fucking paid for.
You already know
Well,
my
I guess
public
that means I own
records. But, my name is also, like, I'm sure it comes up at collection agencies, a few. There have been a few unpaid tickets. These are things I'm working on, consolidating. It cannot be.
That
she
all
says
falls
she's going to
into-
throw that to the judge. Like, that's totally irrelevant to any case she thinks she has.
Yeah, and the judge will look at it and go, okay, then what are you suing him for? If he's so in debt, what are you trying to get out of this?
I'd like to think she'll literally be laughed out of court. I don't know if that's could be literal in any scenario.
I would be willing to go to TV court for this. I used to have anxiety dreams. This is a true story. I used to have anxiety dreams about being on TV court shows because they were so...
You have anxiety dreams about fucking everything.
The judges are so just fucking, like, condescending and mean, and at the same time so stupid. They get caught saying the wrong things constantly, and they insult the plaintiff to, like, try to get at it. Like, Judge Mathis is so bad at it, and Judge Judy and people of the such.
I'll take this to TV court. We should go to street court.
I would be willing to do it.
Have you seen street court?
No.
That's the worst of the bunch, dude. It's the same thing except for he, like, goes out to the property. Like, if there was a hit and run, let's say, he goes out there with his suit and his cameraman, and they fucking do it out in the street, and he yells a lot. So
It's not scripted?
No, supposedly not. As scripted as all of those shows are.
Did you know there's one, it's called I don't know what it's called, the Comedy Court or something like that, and it's like, I can't remember who the judge is. He's the guy...
Alfonso Rivera.
No, he's Catch-21 on the game show.
I meant to say Alfonso Bowden, and somehow... Is that the guy's name?
That's Alonzo Bowden.
Alonzo.
He's Freddie Rodriguez. He's the court jester, the judge.
What?
And then they get, like, comedy lawyers, like Jamie Kennedy or someone like that.
You are kidding me. I have cable. How do I not know of this?
But they're real cases. They're like real small claims court cases.
I agree with you that we should go to TV court for this.
Yeah.
Because,
if anything,
she's going to be accruing so many charges, they take a cut of that if you're willing to be on TV and look like an idiot, Neckfurters.
Yeah, so that's the thing, Neckfurters. If she were to sue us, we'll write every one of those TV shows. And let's try to get on one, right?
Yeah.
And
I'll get my Keith Whiten shirt, get a new suit.
You know what? It would just really be an inconvenience. I can't miss a day of work. Don't take me to court.
So we learned that truth is a defense, PJ. Can my opinion be defamatory? No, but merely labeling a statement as your opinion does not make it so. Courts look at whether a reasonable reader or listener could understand the statement as asserting a statement of verifiable fact. A verifiable fact is one capable of being proven true or false. And we don't lie when it comes to her.
Yeah, she would only...
You lie about, like, your relationship with your wife and stuff, but...
If she wanted to prove something, she would only prove that what we said was true.
And does she want to display that before the court? Be
No.
proven wrong on what a bitch she is? This is determined in light of the context of the statement. A few courts have said that statements made in the context of an internet bulletin board or chat room are highly likely to be opinions or hyperbole. I did know how to say it. but they do look at the remark in context to see if it's likely to be seen as a true, even if controversial opinion. Example, I really hate George Lucas' new movie. That was the example. That was not me, just in case. Rather than assertion of fact dressed up as an opinion. Example, it's my opinion that Trinity is the hacker who broke into the IRS database.
What are they talking about? Movie opinions?
They're giving cute examples of, how something could be taken right and taken wrong. Do you need me to read it again?
No.
Okay. A statement of verifiable fact is a statement that conveys a provably false factual assertion, such as someone has committed murder or has cheated on his or her spouse. To illustrate this point, consider the following excerpt from a court considering the alleged defamatory statement that plaintiffs were the top-ranking dumbasses on defendant's list of top 10 dumbasses. A statement that the plaintiff is a dumbass, even first among dumbasses, communicates no factual proposition susceptible of proof or refutation. It is true that dumb by itself can convey the relatively concrete meaning lacking in intelligence. Even so, depending on context, it may convey a lack less of objectively assayable mental function. I'll stop now, but it's cool that we call her a cunt, is what I think this is saying. This was not nearly as entertaining as I was thinking it would be. But the point I'm trying to make is we have a fucking case. This is a little...
We don't, and no one has a case, really.
It's in the bag, buddy. It's in the bag. She knows it. She knows it.
That's the thing, though, is I don't need reassurance on that. Like,
you said your wife was a little concerned at first, right?
It's scary when you have a kid. I understand why she was scared. And I was scared, too.
Sure.
But you just have to, once I remembered that she wrote all those emails in the past and stuff like that, like, it's just dumb. And we went through the same thing with Planned Parenthood. That turned into nothing.
Yeah,
absolutely
and
nothing.
they're Planned Parenthood. She's fucking nobody.
Yeah, she's someone who's not willing to spend money. I'm fine with that. Bark, got a big bark, not a big bite. Whatever. Subject email.
All bark, no bite?
All bark, no bite.
Where did you go just then?
Let's end this.
You passed out while still talking.
Yeah, what happened to me?